different levels. And in this case, the court has adjudicated, so many cases in the past, because we call it the last hope of the common man. And a few days ago, we learned there is a court judgment, an appeal court judgment, that it's difficult to even, describe what it is right now. But that there was a situation in Osun State at a time in which some local government officials were sacked by this current administration, purportedly sacked by them, and they've been going to the courts to say we were duly appointed. It was we were supposed to still be there, but then you sent us away and we are not going to lay low. So they went to the court and they have been back and forth. So an appeal court judgment quashed that decision to say no on that matter. So people are confused to say that judgment from the appeal court has he reinstated the sacked local government chairman or chairpersons and officials, or it is null and void. The decision stands. By the way, there have been reactions from different stakeholders on the matter. We learned the APC in some quarter, some of them have said we will take over the local government because we have been restated, and it is reported in some quarters by the Algon chairman, a statement credited to the APC Algon chair, to say we have taken over. But then the Osun State Attorney General said APC LGA chairman remain sacked. The PDP has reacted on the matter. The government of Osun State released a statement in that regard as well, talking about that situation and to say this is our position on the matter. I'm talking about the Osun State government, and they have said everybody should maintain peace, because on this matter, nothing has changed as well. Talking about the Osun State government, trying to give you their position on the matter. Now, they say that the Court of Appeal did not reinstate sacked council bosses, and they have directed security operatives to arrest troublemakers. In a statement they released, that was 2 days ago, Shogbo, saying the attention of the Osun State government has been drawn to the judgment of the Court of Appeal delivered on Monday, 10th of February, where the originating summons filed by the PDP to challenge the validity of the election held on 15th of October 2022 was dismissed on the ground that the notice of the election had not been published by OSEC before the suit was filed. The simple implication of today's judgment, according to that release, is that the PDP never filed any case to challenge the validity of that election. And, they went ahead. But because of time, and by the way, to seek the opinion of, a professional who is a lawyer and he even teaches law on this matter, Dr. Misbah Latif, he joins us virtually. Doctor, good morning and thank you for joining us again.
To you at the studio and all Nigerians, everyone listening to you or watching you.
Thank you very much. Doctor, very quick one so that we'll get into the matter. There is a confusion, especially the heels of that Court of Appeal judgment. You are the professional. You know law. You teach law. You have practiced and possibly still practicing. Why is this confusion? And what do you make of that judgment?
Well, thank you and good morning once again. I'm aware of the judgment regarding the local government chairman in Osun, and I'm also aware of the controversies as you have beautifully laid out in your background information. The confusion for me is quite unfortunate. The controversies that we have seen so far, for me, is a pointer to the decadence in our society, in the sense that we have lawyers on both sides, and each side of these divides have been making different claims. And the claims on both sides, which are contradictory, cannot be both correct. So one of them is right and one of them is wrong. The question then is, who is lying, or who has been misleading their clients, or who has been misleading the public? So this makes it so unfortunate because, as I said, this is a new law, in the I mean, this is a new law in terms of how we receive our court judgment. Yes, I understand the judgment was read virtually. The parties were not in the courtroom when it was read 2 days ago. And of course, this is consistent with the rules of court. But then some people actually watched that proceeding. Some people were on that Zoom. Some people actually listened to. So the controversy is needless and quite unfortunate. So who is lying? Unfortunately, I may not be able to speak directly to that, but I will admit that I have also had to weigh in on this subject, and I did present an opinion, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did and why I did so. First, the judgment ought to have been released. I mean, official copy of the judgment, which we call the certified true copy, ought to have been released by now. Sometime, I must say, it could take up to 1 or 2 or 3 days if the judgment is not immediately ready, because sometimes the judges, they read their judgment in open court, and then afterwards, the judgment, is taken through some editorial, maybe correction or printing. Somebody will have to verify it and all of those things before they issue copies to the parties. Of course, the judgment they read in open court will remain intact. So basically, it is understandable that the judgments may not have been immediately ready, but that notwithstanding, parties ought to speak to the truth. Parties, I'm disappointed that people have been misleading and lying to the public. And as I said, we will find out by today or tomorrow when the CTC is finally out who is lying. Now, what did I do? Well, I made contact with people I know at the Court of Appeal in Akure, and I asked questions. And also, I also spoke to some of the lawyers in Oshogbo. I spoke to them. I just wanted to know what exactly is the truth. Well, what I gathered, and I believe so, is that indeed, the Court of Appeal in Akure sat over the judgment delivered by Justice Ayo Emmanuel of the Federal High Court in Oshogbo in November 2022. And that judgment, that case, or that appeal was an appeal filed by opposition party in Osun State, the APC and others, who claimed that the governor, illegally sacked their elected chairman. So if truly that was the case that the Court of Appeal decided, then I think those who are claiming that it is something else, cannot be trusted or cannot be believed. Secondly, I asked them what exactly was the decision of the court, and they told me, and I believed them, that what the Court of Appeal did in summary, after reading through the judgment, after analysis and everything, was that they decided that they allow the appeal. Now, what does this mean in law? Technically, when an appeal is allowed, generally, it means that the court has accepted and granted the prayers, are put before the court by the appellant. Now, I've taken my time to go through the prayers, and some of those prayers were, one, for the Court of Appeal to nullify the judgment of the Federal High Court that sacked the local government chairman. Another one requested that those sacked chairmen be reinstated. Now, I've not seen the letters of the judgment. I may not be able to speak, more specifically as I would have loved to. But if it is true that the court allowed the appeal, if it is true that the court did not, or the court also make orders, regarding the prayers that the appellant put before the court, then I want to believe that one side of this controversy is actually saying the truth, while the other side, is not actually telling the truth, or maybe the whole truth. And this is why I said this controversy is entirely needless. It is embarrassing because I don't really understand or know why lawyers, cannot, I would say, speak to the truth, telling the clients or their client the truth, and also telling the public the truth and the whole truth. So, but as I said, I think the wait is almost over. By the end of today, as I understand from reliable sources, or maybe worse, tomorrow, we should have a certified true copy of the judgment, and all controversies will be laid to rest.
All right. But so are you saying categorically we can't say at this moment if those local government chairmen are being reinstated, or because the limbo, the categorical nature of if they are back or they are not back, that is what people want to know.
Yes, I know that is a cocoa, as we say in Nigeria, and I understand that. I'm also as much interested in that. That's why I'm being very careful with my choice of words.
All right,
because
doctor.
I've not really seen the judgment. Okay, but I understand and I believe these people that I contacted, that the court allowed the appeal, and I've tried to explain what that means.
Yes, exactly.
That all the prayers of the appellate.
Permit me to report in here. In the statement released by Osun State government, in which you said that's the judgment that was delivered by the Federal High Court on 30th day of November 2022, which you talked about earlier, by Honorable Justice N.I.O. Emmanuel of the Oshogbo Federal High Court. And they said, yes, but it was appealed against, with the appeal number CA/AK, that's /226M/2024, and the Court of Appeal affirmed the judgment in the ruling delivered on 13th of January 2025. Taking the above positions into consideration, it is only valid. The only valid judgment subsisting as at today is the order of the court which nullified the election conducted as enunciated above. Therefore, we need to inform the entire citizens of Osun State, most especially the security operatives and heads of local government administrations, to take note of the fact that there is no judgment restoring the yes and no local government chairman back into the various local government councils in Osun State. That's the position of the Osun State government. Okay. And they gave their position.
Can I quickly clarify something there?
Yes.
For the benefit of the public, I think, and I want to be very modest here. I mean, naturally, I like to deploy some strong words and appropriate words, to characterize things, at times. But then, at this time, I think I want to be modest by saying that statement by the state government, unfortunately, was actually not correct. And I will say this with authority. With reference to the judgment of 13th January in particular, that judgment is out and everybody read it and I saw it. Now, what they told the public about that other judgment is actually totally untrue. Now, what really happened in that case was that, yes, that was another appeal filed by another party, including the APC. Okay, that is the truth, against the judgment of Justice N.I.O. But what happened on 13th of January was that when that matter was called in open courts, it was found that the appellant, those who filed those appeals, they were not willing to go ahead with the matter. In law, we say that is an abandonment. When you abandon an appeal or you are not diligent about the prosecution of a case. So the counsel to the PDP applied that appeal be struck out because of lack of diligence prosecution, and the appeal was struck out. Now, what that means in law basically is that matter was never filed in court, that appeal was never in court, and nothing was ever decided on merit. So meaning that the Court of Appeal in Akure never at any time, sat over the judgment of Justice N.I.O. of Federal High Court. So when I read that aspect of the statement, actually, I felt so, I became worried or concerned that this kind of judgment or statement and blatant lie, an open lie, will come from a government undo. That's most unfortunate. They have totally misrepresented that decision of 13th of January. The Court of Appeal struck out the case. So the only time the judgment of Justice Ayola has been decided on merit was just 2 days ago, on the 10th of February, when the Court of Appeal allowed the appeal of the sacked local government chairman. And I want to tell you this, and I'm going to come back to this later. In reading that judgment, as I gathered, the Court of Appeal in Akure on 10th of February did not spare words for the OSEC in Osun State. They lambasted that institution of government for their I would say, hanky-panky in the whole proceeding. But when the appeal was initially filed, OSEC was part of the appeal in Akure when they were under a previous government. Then the moment the new government came in, OSEC withdrew from that appeal. They now became a respondent in support of the new government. And the Court of Appeal, and you are going to read some of the statement. I'm telling you this with all authority. The judgment is coming out by today or tomorrow. You are going to see very strong words that the court deploy against OSEC for hanky-panky. You know, you were an appellant, suddenly you withdrew, then you became a respondent. The court said you cannot, as an institution, a supposed umpire, you know, be taking side or switching side in a proceeding.
All right.
The so-called yes or no election was conducted by you. And when it was, anyway, let me just stop there.
All right.
Okay, Doctor, from what we've heard or from what we've seen or from what we've read, and it's saying that these local government chairmen were being reinstated. If actually this is true, what happens to the forthcoming local government election?
Well, the natural thing that happened to that election is that that election cannot hold. If the Court of Appeal did decide that those chairmen be reinstated, okay, then that election cannot go ahead. They will naturally be reinstated. There are institutions of the country, to ensure that the police by law is empowered to enforce judgment of court. However, the respondent in that appeal, the PDP and others, also have a right of appeal, and they can also apply for a stay of execution. Okay, so if they exercise that right, well, the reinstated chairman may not immediately assume office. If they apply for a stay of execution and such application is granted, it means that the chairman will still have to hold on until the matter is finally settled by the Supreme Court. But as I speak now, if truly the Court of Appeal reinstated those chairmen, and I believe it did, then they are the only legal and legitimate chairman of local government in Osun State. And there is nothing OSEC can do to stop that. And in fact, if OSEC goes ahead to conduct election as scheduled, that will not only be scandalous, it will also be contemptuous of the Court of Appeal judgment in Akure, where OSEC was also a party as a respondent.
Doctor, one will say, while we wait for the CTC, as you have said, fair enough, that can we do that? The question Uzom's asked, that if actually they have been reinstated, or they were reinstated, what happens to the local government election? You said, obviously, logically, that means it cannot hold. Can we do that by inference? Or don't we need a categorical statement of the court to say, go ahead or don't go ahead? Can we deduce that by inference?
No, we can't. And let me say this. Even if anybody goes to a federal high court this morning or a high court to secure an order that says, oh, OSEC, you can go out with the election, that order will be inconsequential and will be worthless and will be invalid, because no order of a federal high court or state high court can contradict what the Court of Appeal has already decided. So you cannot infer that, well, since nobody has barred them, then they can go ahead. No. What we are saying is that by necessary implications, if the Court of Appeal has said that some chairmen are still in office, it means that you cannot conduct election while the tenure of the current occupier has not expired. So that's what it means. It doesn't even require being a lawyer or even being a university graduate. It's logic. So I don't see, and I don't think wisdom will permit OSEC going ahead with any election, if indeed, and I say if indeed the Court of Appeal has reinstated the chairman of the local government in Osun State, those that were sacked, and I would say illegally by the governor. The governor sacked them illegally. Of course, we know this is a trend all over the country. When new governors come on board, the first thing they do, we've seen it in Edo recently, when the governor of APC in Edo State came in, the first thing he did was to seize the local government. And we understand why they do so. Their target is always on the local government funds. Many of these governors, they rely on local government funds to do many of the things they do. Unfortunately, many of those things they do don't really benefit the local government fund or the local government whose fund they have appropriated. I'm from Osun State. I know what is going on in my local government. You virtually see nothing, practically nothing. I mean, compared to what that local government receive as allocation on a monthly basis. So governors all over Nigeria, not only Osun, maybe only a few of them, maybe Lagos and 1 or 2 states. But generally, the first thing they do is to do that, I would say, illegal ritual of sacking the local government chairman so that they can have access to local government fund. This is an unfortunate thing, but the good news here is this. If that had been the practice before now, the recent Supreme Court judgment, I think, has put a, well, I don't know whether I can even say this, because after the Supreme Court judgment, the Edo State government, still purports to sack the local government chairman. I don't know. I guess this is something that Nigerians will really have to look into, because we can't continue like this. The local government are duly elected officials to administer local administrations. So the Supreme Court has said repeatedly, the governors have no power to sack them. You don't do that. But unfortunately, what we see is the contrary all the time and everywhere.
Oh.
Okay, Doctor, before I come to this last topic you just talked about now, I want to talk about the tenure. Now, this local government chairman that was sacked, they were sacked in 2022. You said when their tenure has not been exhausted, that another local government election cannot be conducted. Now that they've been there, or they were elected in 2022 and they've been sacked since then, what's going to happen? Are they going to start recounting their tenure, or it's already reading as it stands?
By law, their tenure was paused, so they just have to continue from where they stop and then complete what I'm not sure what the law says again, whether that election was for 4 years or 3 years, I'm not really sure. But whatever it is, the tenure was paused. And if they are reinstated truly, then they have to continue and complete, their tenure as specified by the law. Okay.
So I've now come to what you said earlier. Doctor, you implied that most governors actually sack local government chairman when they come into power, probably because they are not of the same party. So are you sort of implying that these people that are being that the governor wants to actually put in power are actually going to be dancing to the tune? They are not going to be doing what they are supposed to do. Are you trying to say that these local government chairmen that are going to be in power are not going to actually be serving the people, but serving the governor of the state?
Yes, and that is exactly what they do across parties, whether PDP or APC or LP. And that is the most unfortunate aspect. You see, they turn out to be puppets in most places, maybe except 1 or 2 states. So, and this is why the governors, if you know what comes to local government, my own local government in Osun, and I'm proud of my local government, Oruri local government, if I'm permitted to say that on here, and I know what goes into that local government on allocation every month. Now, as I speak to you now, it's almost 300 million naira every month. But go to that local government, you will not see a sign of 20 million naira. And this is what happened across other states. So the point is that the governors target local government fund. And the only way they can control local government fund is to control the chairman, make them puppet. When a particular local government chairman in Osun State, spoke out against Governor Dapo Abiodun, remember what happened to him? He was humiliated, he was sacked, he was dismissed summarily and unconstitutionally. So until we encourage our people to fight and retrieve the local government from the vice grip of the governors, the development that we expect at the local government may never happen to us. Right. And this is the unfortunate situation all over the state, or in many states.
All right.
Okay, Doctor, so if, from what you also said, you said that the Supreme Court has said, okay, that's not from what you said, but we know that the Supreme Court has said that the governors do not have the right to sack local government chairman. How do we move forward from this? Because it seems like the governors are not heeding to this court judgment, and if they're not listening or they're not heeding to the courts, what else has the common man?
Well, the common man will have to stand up and the people who are aggrieved will continue to go to court. You see, when there's a Yoruba proverb, I don't know if I can quickly translate that. You know, if someone has decided that they will act in a particular way, you too, you can also devise a means to always counter them. Now, if governors continue to perpetuate illegality, we would always have occasions like this, where some people will go to court and the court will overturn them. I guess we just have to continue doing that. What we should never stop doing is challenging them. We should never keep quiet. People who are aggrieved, they should continue to challenge illegality in whatever shade and fashion until we are able to compel the governors to do the right thing. So that is basically, and the people at the grassroots themselves, we have to stand up. Yeah. I mean, I'm not calling for violence. They should never go to violence. Yeah. But I'm saying they have to stand up and demand for the right thing.
All right. So we have to go. But let me just take it back a bit. Part of the prayers part of their complaints of the Osun State government, the current administration, is the fact that the election that even produced those sacked chairmen was flawed, that the notice was not properly given, because you are supposed to give a notice of like a year, in which the current OCEC chair and the administration is saying that is what they have done. You know, February last year to February this year, the election is scheduled to hold in the next 12, 11 days or thereabout. And that the previous one was not done that way. It was hurriedly done, you know, against the dictate of the law. And it was more or less like a referendum, yes or no. So what morality, on what locus are these people? Were they even elected? And it was more like a waste of money and a sham. Don't you agree?
Well, I don't agree. I remember that election, and I don't think anything was wrong with it. The Constitution does not prescribe or impose the manner or how to conduct local government election. I believe elections was conducted. At any rate, the judgment of Court of Appeal just 2 days ago has validated that election. If the judgment truly reinstated the chairman and the court examine what the Federal High Court did and set it aside, then it follows that that election was proper. So any other thing to the contrary is just a sheer waste of time. So I don't think that election was bad or wrong. People decided not to participate by choice, and that's their choice.
A lawyer and a law lecturer, Dr. Misbah Lateef, giving his thoughts on the confusion, and in some part, right, it's more like a brewing tension, because many Osun residents don't even know what to believe. But just like I said, and that we should wait for the certified true copy so that we know in categorical terms what that court judgment says. Thank you, Dr. Misbah Lateef, for your time and your take.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good morning.
All right. And we'll go on this quick break. When we return, we'll be speaking with and about the future of tomorrow. And some will say tomorrow is now. Stay with us.